Hello everybody and welcome to Uprising again. Today I want to actually talk about foot health and how to prevent toenail fungus and athlete's foot and this whole fungal thing with your feet. I actually kind of came up with it after seeing a lot of research and then just kind of doing some deep thinking. I found something that was really interesting. I found out that ultimately water, well, I guess first we should start out with saying that there are two factors, the internal factor and the internal health, and the exterior factor. So obviously, like when I go to the gym and I'll do things like I'll go into the sauna and I'll take my shower, but I always make sure to wear Crocs, for my feet. I am not gonna let my feet touch the ground in a place like that. That's a breeding ground for something like fungus, and that's probably the first thing, I suggest. The second thing that's really, really simple that I've noticed that is incredibly helpful is when you're done taking a shower, before you put anything on your feet, dry them really good. And I don't mean just like, you kind of dry them so-so and then you put some socks or shoes on. No, I take very special care to dry in between the toes, all around the little crevices in the nails. I mean, I dry them really, really good. The next thing I do, which feels really weird, but it all made sense to me, was I use oil. So there's probably many different ways to do this, but I personally use jojoba oil, and then I use tea tree oil, and I make my own mixture. In fact, this is my mixture right here. And so what I do is I dry my feet really, really good, and then I'll put oil in the crevices of the nails and in between the toes, and then sometimes, you can rub it all over your feet if you want, which feels really weird when you put your socks on because it makes it feel like your feet are kind of wet. But the interesting thing about oil that I just figured out somehow was that it's kind of like, it's a preventative to what I almost call death in a way, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So if you have a bunch of water run in your house and it gets flooded and eventually the water drains out and it's all gone, what's going to happen? You're going to have a bunch of mold start growing. And I mean, mold is death, basically, It's just really, really bad stuff. You don't want that. It's a type of fungus, right? Now, if you were to have a ton of oil come in your house, like let's just say lavender oil, and then it drained out, that's not going to happen. So once I got this in my mind, I thought, wow, this is really interesting, and I'm going to try this, and it's been incredible to keep my feet well oiled after they're dried, of course, and then it just seems to have helped a ton. And then it keeps your feet really nice and soft, and it's been really interesting. And I'm not trying to get religious at all here, and I respect everybody's beliefs, kind of like I guess they would say that God does, which he gives us free will, right? So everybody has a free will to choose whatever they want to believe. But I was going to bring up an interesting Bible verse that I found interesting, which was when Jesus died and he was going to be buried, they brought a lot of oil. And I started thinking about it, and I started thinking, what if they were using this oil so that his body wouldn't decompose, right? Because oil seems to be a really interesting product, I guess you could call, that seems to protect from the funguses, from the molds. And again, all this started computing in my head, and that's how I ultimately came up with the idea to use it for my feet. And it's embarrassing to say, but many years ago, I had the toenail fungus, I had athlete's foot, and it was terrible, and I hated it. And I really like to be really, really clean. It's something that's really important for me, both internally and externally. And I'm sure everybody likes to feel really clean. And so anyway, I noticed that using these type of oils really made an improvement. And I know that there's a lot of people suffering from toenail fungus and athlete's foot and these type of things. And you can make a bunch of different types of oil mixtures. You don't have to do the one that I do. I do recommend trying to get oils that are really 100% pure, really quality oil. I'm not really into promoting things really, but the oils that I personally have found that are really good quality are Young Living and doTERRA oils, though I'm sure you can find other ones that are truly 100% good oils. And I know those are really expensive, but you don't really need a lot of it. I mean, I use the jojoba oil, and then I put, just a little bit of tea tree is what I use. But again, you could find probably so many that are antifungal. And I know that a lot of people are also really into I've seen a lot of people walking barefoot, thinking that it's really great for you. And I'm not saying it isn't. I think walking around in the grass and that kind of stuff, it's great. But I've seen some people's feet, they just get torn up by walking on concrete, and they think it's good. But I just think that foot health is something that is really, really important. You should really care for your feet. Let them breathe as much as you possibly can. I like the rule that I like to uphold in my home, which is when you come home, you take off your shoes. Not only does it keep the house clean, but then you can also allow your feet, to breathe. So what I do is I use Crocs as slippers because they got all the holes and they breathe so well, and I just kind of run around the house with those. And then of course you put your shoes when you go out. So those are just kind of my tips. And as far as the internal health, I do go back to the hydrogen again, because you don't want your gut out of whack. You don't want, of course, when you consume a lot of processed sugars, a lot of carbohydrates, when you see a lot of the weight in the center of your body, you get bigger there only. There's a lot of issues with candida and fungal issues and bacteria, actually, good bacteria, in your gut that are in different sections of your gut and will literally move to different areas if there's not enough proper nutrients. And then this can spread and cause basically unwanted fungal issues in your internal body. So you really want to try to care for both and really have that balanced diet if you can. I believe in less to no meat if possible. I know that everybody has their different beliefs on what you should eat. But anyway, that was my recommendation as far as what you can do for your feet health. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And for those people who are watching this maybe for the first time and don't know a lot about hydrogen, which I was speaking about a second ago, watch my other videos, and I do talk extensively about hydrogen and the benefits of it. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Uprising of the spirits.
Being put through here.
Oh, can you hear it? It's the children